out of sight. Oh, across the alley from the Alamo, in the starlight beams its tender glow. The beans go to sleep and then there ain't no dough for the people passing by. Along the railroad track, they were swishing, not looking, toot toot, and never came back. Oh, across the alley from the Alamo, the summer sun decides to settle low. A fly sings an Indian hi-ho to the people passing by. Across the alley from the Alamo. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
TV, Max Armstrong joining you alongside Joe Gangwish, who's here with us for the special broadcast of this historic event of these 1,000 plus tractors that are going to be going around the track here at the Nebraska State Fairgrounds. I'm even having difficulty speaking about it, Joe. This is such an unbelievable event with people from all over the United States who've come here to be with us today. We have tractor drivers here from New Jersey, from Utah, a bunch of people from Texas, from Mississippi, from Alabama. It is just a spectacular event. And Joe, this is just a one-of-a-kind event. Max Armstrong here with Joe Gangwish. Joe, you have the KRVN tractor blog, as I understand.
That's right. We've got the tractor blog at the KRVN website, and many of the people that have been on my blog, visited with a lot of folks, all wanted to take part in this. The excitement's been building all summer.
Well, I tell you what, I think it had exceeded the expectations of the planners. I think we realized that people were crazy about tractors, but this is just remarkable.
It is remarkable. I think we've gone beyond crazy, Max, on how fanatical these guys are about their machines.
Well, they take great pride in them, and somebody said, well, aren't they worried about them getting mud and dirt on them? And as you know, they've had plenty of mud and dirt on them in the lives out in the field, and that was how they were intended to work.
Oh, and Patrick did the survey on whether we wanted to wait to go tomorrow or go today, even later today. Everybody said, no, we want to go at 1 o'clock, whether we've got mud, dry conditions. We were all excited, ready to go.
I tell you what, I was standing on the platform with him when he asked the question. I had that flashback to like Frankenstein when they were storming the windmill. You know, it was a little scary.
They wanted to mob you if we weren't going to start at 1 o'clock, I think.
The mob was ready to take over. All right, we're getting ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. The tractors They're all fired up here.
I think we're taking the overhead picture right now. That's what we're doing.
Taking a photograph for a poster. The photographer up at the top of the grandstand.
We've got flags waving, and everybody's holding their finger up in the air, signifying a world's record. So the #1 finger in the air.
You know, it's a beautiful scene with all of the American flags around the track. And so many of these men and women are proud veterans who've served our nation. And they have family members who are still serving our country. We should never, ever forget about the sacrifice that has been made by our men and women in the military and their families. And there are still folks, of course, serving overseas every day for all of us back home. Patrick Gotch, president of RFD TV, right here on the nearby tractor on that John Deere that has number 325 on it. That, I think, is a family John Deere, Joe.
That's right. It's a family 620. Patrick told us earlier he used to cut silage on that when he was a kid. Recently restored. He's going to lead us out today, Max.
That's Patrick's daughter, Raquel, there right next to him.
Motors are running. I think the gentleman next to him on the 4020 is the person that restored the tractor for Patrick. So we've got some good family pictures here before we get rolling.
That's Patrick's brother, who is a farmer here in Nebraska.
Very nice 4020. I believe the farm hall might be part of the family too. We've got the front row leading the parade out. So we're going to get started here in just a little bit.
I can't see it from here. I believe that farm hall is an M, isn't it? Or is that a Super M?
I can't quite see around the 4020, but I think you're right. I think it's a Super M. You're kind of partial to the red machines, aren't you, Matt?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
There, the 4020 gets fired up, so Patrick's brother is about ready to get us underway here this afternoon. The weather has cleared off nicely, Max. We've got cloudy skies, so great for pictures and also great for a tractor ride. The temperatures are going to be nice and cool, so hopefully the rain has gone away. At least for the time being this afternoon. You know, we didn't have rain here all summer until we get to today.
You guys could have used one earlier in the brewing season, couldn't you?
That's right. We could have used some rain, and we've been praying for it. It arrived this morning, but settled the dust down a little, so I think we're ready.
What about late soybeans, Joe? Do you think some of those would be helped by some of the rains yet? Is it too late? Have they already shut down?
Well, most of the rains, as you know, or most of the beans, as you know, under pivot, so I think most of them are okay. The dryland beans might be kind of touch and go, but I think if we can get some heat now with this rain, the beans ought to maybe snap out of it a little bit.
We're waiting to get everybody ready to go here. Should be momentarily. The crew's communicating. I tell you what, the RFD TV crew and the volunteers have done just a magnificent job trying to pull all of this together. It's a huge coordination effort, and for a first-time effort, this has been just outstanding.
That's exactly right. I complimented the crew yesterday when I brought my tractor in about noon. They got me right in, parked, got the tractor off the trailer. It ran very smooth, as you said, for the first time out. This has been quite an orchestration, and it's gone very well.
You know, even people who didn't bring tractors, many of them have traveled considerable distance to be here. They just wanted to be a part of this event and see it.
We've got spectators. If you could look at the grandstands and some of the shots here, we've got the grandstands are full. People are, well, standing room only, I guess. We've got people watching us, of course, all over on RFD TV. Just a huge crowd here at Fauner Park. The lines were huge to get in, so this is quite an event. Like you, I'm almost speechless.
The other thing is when you turn around and look at the grandstand, I don't know if any of our guys can get a shot of the grandstand. There's hardly an empty seat up there. It is remarkable.
That's right. It is packed in the grandstand.
We're having a few PA difficulties here as we're on the air with our broadcast.
Have to bear with us as we kind of switch mics around here, but
yeah, this was all pulled together rather quickly, you know, after the rains came through. That was the difficulty. I mean, they could do virtually no setup simply because of the fact that we had that. What do you think? Maybe a half inch of rain this morning? Was it about that?
I'd say maybe 40 to a half inch, but you know, RFD has done a great job of getting set up here in that limited window to get everything brought together. So thanks for everybody tuned in too, bearing with us as we've taken a little extra time to make sure we took our time to get started this afternoon.
Yeah, we were a little bit late getting on the air because of the setup that was necessary, but our crews have just done a fantastic job. A lot of good volunteers have been lending a hand too here, I know, the last day or so.
Oh, some great volunteers, especially as we checked in yesterday. Also, we got to thank the State Fair volunteers, too, that willingly give of their time and help everybody get organized. And as you mentioned, first time, this has gone great.
You know, the other thing that comes to mind, Joe, this new site, relatively new site for the Nebraska State Fair, hasn't been in place all that long. And I think it's just remarkable as an outsider coming in here to see what has been done.
Third year that the Nebraska State Fair has been here at Fauner Park in Grand Island, and we broke records the first year here at the fair a couple of years ago on Fauner Park. You've seen all the beautiful buildings that they built to get this started. Grand Island has really come together as a community for the Nebraska State Fair. We're just tickled to have this event as part of the State Fair this year. I think most folks would agree it was a good idea to move the fair out to Grand Island.
Were there some doubting Thomases at first? You know, people who said, oh, well, wait a minute, you're moving a little farther away from the population of the state?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I say, were there some doubting Thomases right at the outset who said, you know, we're moving a little bit away from the population?
I think there were a few, but the University of Nebraska had some plans for the State Fair Park, and there were a few people that doubted, but once we got the fair moved out here and saw the cooperation, it went together to move the State Fair to Grand Island. I think the state came together as a whole to bring us here.
We're on the air, Patrick. As far as I know, we're on the air. What do you think of this event?
I just want to thank everybody. It's overwhelming, really. It really is.
It exceeded even your expectations, huh?
Yeah, people coming from 31 different states. I mean, we're really humbled by it. It's a lot of fun. We wanted to, with the rain, we wanted to postpone it till tomorrow, but these guys wouldn't hear of it. They said, let's have a parade, so we are.
The natives are getting restless back there behind you.
Let's get going.
Better get in that seat and get going, pal.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Patrick. Patrick Gotch, president of RFD TV here, and he's going to be on one of the lead tractors. Leading off this bunch, well, we think, altogether more than 1,000 tractors, well over 1,000 that have been amassed from all over the country for this record-breaking attempt on RFD TV of the Guinness Book of World Records.
I think 1,100
getting ready to start.
There you go. 1,139, I think, was the official count.
1,139 altogether. Patrick Gotch, president of RFD TV, there at the center with his daughter Raquel. I want to make sure that this is perfect because the Guinness Book of World Records has exacting standards, and they are very particular.
We're getting ready for the countdown. I think they want you to give the countdown, maybe.
I want you to do the countdown. I'll give you the signal after these have cleared out.
Yeah, Max will do the countdown and then give the signal, and then we'll get ready to start.
All right, momentarily, we're going to give the countdown to start these tractors, ladies and gentlemen, to start the procession for the Guinness World Book of Records record attempt.
This is quite a coordinated event. Everybody has to start at the same time and keep moving. So we've got some flag people all around the track and in the staged areas, and we all have to start at once. So it's going to be kind of an interesting thing here to get these people all started at one time and stay going for 2 miles.
Raquel Gotch standing by with the green flag there, in communication via two-way radio with the rest of the crew. I tell you what, it is just an outstanding day. For you folks watching at home across the country, the weather is just superb now after we had the rain this morning. The temperatures are very pleasant. We don't have any hot sun beating down. We got a little bit accustomed to that this summer, didn't we, Joe?
Well, the heat was unbearable in parts of Nebraska and Kansas here on the high plains this summer. And we were welcome the rains this morning, wet the track down a little bit. And even now we're going to race over 2 miles per hour this afternoon. The track is ready, and we're set to go.
How does this track get used at other times?
Here at Fauner Park, this is a horse race track, a thoroughbred racing track. Kind of in conjunction with the fair, they'll get their season again started here until the weather gets cooler in November. So, but quite a bit of horse racing goes on here. So that's the main use of the Fauner Park track. Other than that, maybe here during the fair we'll have a couple of tractor pulls, but I think, Max, we found another big use for this track here at Fauner Park.
You know, I've been asked, Joe, if this is going to be a continuing event. I think it's going to be tough to stop it. It's one of those things where you have so much success at the outset, and, you know, it was just a lot of inertia, I think, that comes to pass simply because so many people are enjoying this.
Oh, so many people are here enjoying this, and I like your idea of having this every year. It's gone very well. For being the first year, it's been smooth, and I think most folks that didn't have the opportunity to be here today would love a chance to come back and maybe try this again.
I suppose the folks and the officials of the Nebraska State Fair might have to be consulted around that, but I would think they'd be delighted to have all the folks coming through the turnstile today who come in here.
It's been a great crowd, and I heard that people were waiting in line to get into the grandstands about 10 minutes ago. So, yeah, the State Fair officials going to be very pleased with what they're seeing here today. And I bet you wish you're out there on your Super M right now, don't you?
I do. I'm looking with envy, but it's great to have you alongside me here. Joe Gangwish has long been affiliated with KRVN Radio and has the KRVN Tractor blog. You might talk a little bit about that, Joe.
Sure. The Tractor blog is something we started a couple of years ago. We recognized the love of classic tractors, and me kind of being a classic tractor fan, we wanted a way to highlight classic machines all across the KRVN listening area, across Central and most of Nebraska and Kansas. And we decided to go ahead and establish a blog where folks could feature their tractors. We could talk about them on the air each week, and it's really gone well. We've had a lot of good folks submit tractors. Still need some more entries, so krvn.com on the blogs page is a place to find us. You can email or mail in your entries. So a lot of the guys that have been on the blog already are here with us today in line.
That's great. I've seen some of the tractors you've featured there. There's some real beauties.
Definitely some beauties. Everything from the oil pull Rumley tractors to what you're partial to, some of the red M's. You know, a lot of these tractors have worked hard all their lives, and this is a good way for them to be featured and get really some recognition that they deserve.
I think outsiders, Joe, are sometimes surprised at the emotion that gets wrapped up in the ownership of some of this aids and this equipment, especially if it was a family tractor or maybe one that has been restored, as has been the case with some of these tractors, restored by a grandfather and a grandson.
Well, that's exactly right. You and I can identify with the emotion that goes through having a tractor that belonged to you and your family, having that with you, restoring that, and taking that to shows and things. And if you're an outsider, it sometimes might be hard for you to realize just the attachment that a man involved in, or woman, a family involved in production agriculture can have. But it's almost like one of the family, isn't it, Max?
It really is. We spend so much time with these tractors. When you think back in the day that it not only took days and weeks, but months, you know, to bring a crop through a season, from the initial tillage that took place, of course, to the planting and the cultivating and the spraying, and you spent months out there in those fields.
That's exactly right. Sometimes you would curse the tractor because you were hot, spending the long days in the fields, but it was a good love-hate relationship because you knew no matter what brand you had, you could always stand by that machine to be there for you when you needed it. So that's a great point.
All right, they're trying to get it all together. These tractors are moving on down now to make way as we try to get this attempt started momentarily. Very patient crowd here. A packed grandstand at Grand Island, Nebraska. If you've just tuned in, this is a record-breaking attempt to move antique tractors around a track. The world's largest parade of classic tractors. You're watching on RFD TV and Rural TV. I'm Max Armstrong along with Joe Gangwish, and we're joined by a few thousand close friends.
I don't think they would change this for the world. If you'd have seen all the smiles this morning at that driver meeting, there were just a lot of smiles this morning. Excitement was in the air, and they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to postpone it. They wanted to go right at 1 o'clock.
You bet.
We'll wait here as Max does some changing on his microphone. So we want to have the folks in the grandstand as well as across the country viewing on RFD TV. We want them to be able to hear as well. So we're doing a little quick fixer up here on Max's microphone so we can talk to both to the people here and to the folks on the air. So there you go. I think now we can actually visit to both people here personally and on the air.
You bet. This way we can one-hand it. Just like driving an old tractor down the track.
This is a lot of this is unrehearsed, so live TV, as you know, Max, can certainly be interesting at times. So
I think it's starting to get a little steamy here, starting to warm up a little bit.
well, you know, a lot of these, we got 1,000 motors running at one time. We got some exhaust fumes, some heat off the motors too. So with the cloud cover, that might be adding to the heat as well. Probably the humidity is up here today too after the rainfall.
I think many of us prepared for a little cooler temperatures early in the day, too, when it was raining here at the Grand Island. We had those showers come through. What was it, 8 or 9 o'clock this morning? A little bit later, maybe?
Yeah, between about 8 and 10:30, we had about a half inch of rain. And, you know, the way it was raining a couple of times, Mother Nature was really getting after it. So it made you wonder if, in fact, we were going to get this in today. But it cleared off nicely about 11 o'clock.
It made some of us nervous, I must tell you. The way it was coming down, it was pouring at the time. A lot of these folks, of course, are taking in the outdoor farm shows over the next few weeks. Some of these folks will be headed back east, and they're going to swing by Boone, Iowa for the Farm Progress Show that starts there at Boone on Tuesday for 3 days. And they're expecting superb weather. They're talking about sunny skies all 3 days with the temperature in the upper 80s. And then many folks will be coming back for Husker Harvest Days here at Grand Island, the 11th through the 13th.
Husker Harvest Day is very exciting time as well for this part of the region, this part of the country, the Grand Island area. We just get done with the State Fair, switch over to Husker Harvest Day, so Grand Island really makes it into the spotlight in September.
How big a town is Grand Island for folks who may not be familiar with this area, and what are some of the major features of this particular region of the state?
Probably right around 45,000 is the size of Grand Island. Now with the State Fair being here, we feature both the State Fair and Husker Harvest Days. You mentioned just right away next week, Farm Progress. I guess my question to you, Max, what are the crops going to be like for Farm Progress for some of the harvest demonstrations? Are they going to have a crop to harvest over in Boone, Iowa?
You bet. I think they're pretty happy with the way it's shaken out there. Now, some of that is early, shorter variety, shorter season corn that they put in there, and it's been ready.
Yeah.
You know, there have been some stalk problems reported in parts of the Corn Belt this year, and I think some of the folks around the show site were saying we see a much smaller stalk this year. Stalks are a little more brittle, so what we don't need, of course, in the Corn Belt this year is a big windstorm by any means.
That's exactly right. Maybe a little more brittle the stalks might be because of the hotter temperatures. We didn't need any storm activity where we welcome the moisture, but the hail and the wind can, as you know, do some damage to us. So the good thing about Husker Harvest Days, it's a working irrigation farm show. So you've got some crops that are in good shape under pivot. So we'll have some crops to harvest this year for Husker Harvest Days coming up here in a few weeks.
What's your gut feeling about irrigation and the interest in irrigation this year? You know, when you have a drought year, does that tend to spike the interest a little bit, as one might expect?
I think it does. From talking to the people that, of course, I work for All Points Cooperative, West Central Nebraska. I've talked to a lot of the guys that they've been having to run their pivots. Sometimes it was hard for the pivots to catch up, but there's a positive outlook for the guys that were able to irrigate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready. We're ready for the countdown that will start the tractor procession. Countdown with us now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, start your tractor engines. Here we go. But the first one's crossing. Pat Gotch, his brother. Pat, of course, president of RFD TV, proudly flying the American flag. Hey, there's an Alice Chalmers G.
I was looking at that tractor earlier. The G's got the planter unit on the front.
They made those in Gadsden, Alabama. Great lineup of tractors coming on down right through here. Now, Joe, we've got a Farmall 560 diesel.
Back behind that, you've got a couple of John Deere A's that have been formed together to make one of those dual engine tractors. That's a local tractor here in the Grand Island area.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people did that to get a little extra power in the field.
Got a nice set of triples on the John Deeres here. This group, I believe, is from the Shelton, Nebraska area. Back there on the 530, Howard Urich from the Shelton Wood River area. Here's another Super M with Russ Horst. He's from the Ravenna area here in Nebraska, so that's not too far up Highway 2 from Grand Island here.
You see a lot of tractor magnets displaying with pride the clubs and where they're from.
Yeah, it's got a lot of tractor magnets, as you mentioned, displaying their clubs. Also, a lot of them displaying what state they're from. We've got several Husker symbols for us here in Nebraska, but when you talked to the Ohio group yesterday, they were proudly displaying their Ohio flag as they were coming through your recordings for Chalk and Tractors yesterday. So people love to display where they're from and what club they're representing. There's a nicely restored John Deere G. Looks to be 1948 G.
There's a Case coming through. Case 700. Nice condition, nicely restored.
Max, I don't think there'd be something wrong with you if you could look through this group of tractors today and couldn't find one you'd want to take home and put in your collection.
You know, even some of them that haven't been restored, Joe, look just fantastic. I say there's nothing wrong with a tractor that's out there in its work clothes. That's just fine.
That's exactly right. That's what we do on our blog for the radio station for KRVN is we say even if you're in the process of restoring it, people love to see them in their working clothes, restored either way. And we've got several of those tractors here today. If you look, there's that, I believe it's a 35, that GMW. That's actually a Swedish version of a John Deere A. After World War II, I believe that's Kenny Laird driving that from the Wood River area. We shared some technology with Sweden after World War II, and they came up with what is called the 35, and that is a Swedish John Deere.
Some interesting cabs popping up on these tractors, too.
Yeah, that automatic aftermarket cab going by on the A. There's a 3010 diesel that belongs to Arlen Axman from Ravenna, Nebraska. That was the first tractor he ever bought coming out of high school when he started farming. Kept it in the family and restored it about 3 years ago.
Begin your adventure. Visit Nebraska.com.
Oh, this is just a breathtaking procession to see him coming down the track at us here.
Got several umbrella tractors coming across here right now. There's some more M's for you, Max. A couple of H's in there.
Umbrellas were put on there to shelter from the sun, and I guess maybe for some, to shelter from the rain a little bit.
I think that's appropriate for today.
Ford in. Is that an 8N?
I think that's an 8N Ford. Yeah, I think you're right. There's a old Farmall. I think that's an F20 there.
Several folks brought Ford 8Ns or 2Ns. You know, they wanted something that was easily transported. And I had a couple of guys tell me they bought a full little Ford tractor just because it was easy to carry to the show.
And what's nice about those Fords, some of them had the overdrive, so you have that nice road gear, and they make a great tractor drive tractor.
What a shot, looking at all those wheels turning as they come up the track. And some great, great excitement and pride of the tractor drivers.
Everybody's excited. Everybody's smiling, too, as they go by here. I just can't believe the amount of folks we have spectating and the amount of tractors that we have on the track.
By the way, that was a mounted sickle bar mower that went by on a Farmall just a little bit back there. I was watching it on a monitor. I couldn't believe my eyes, but that was a mounted sickle bar mower.
We have a lot of implements mounted on these tractors coming through today, and a lot of people are very interested in that, Max. They love to see some of the working implements along with the tractors. And we're going to see a lot of that as we go through the afternoon.
There's a Fordson.
Yep, that's a Fordson Dexta, yes.
Fordson Dexta.
From what I understand, they didn't make very many of those, so the folks that collect the Dextas are very proud of their machines. We got a cab tractor. I believe that would either be a 4020 or a 4320 coming up here. There's another.
Is that a 4020? I think it is.
Yep, it is a 4020 with the aftermarket cab. Hopefully we'll be able to keep up on all the tractors going by us here.
He even gave it a little goose for us right here in front of the announcer's stand.
That's a nice 60 standard you see there at the bottom of your screen. I saw him unload yesterday, and boy, that deep throaty sound that you only get from the two cylinders.
It really shines. It really has had a nice restoration on it, Joe. Even those that haven't had a great restoration, they belong here too.
That's exactly right. And there's a nice A in its working clothes going by us here right now. Looks like the aftermarket power steering, and Of course, you could probably relate to once that power steering came out after World War II. That really saved a lot of the guys' hands when they were out there plowing, didn't it?
Yes, I can relate. Look at that nice-looking Mini Mo. We haven't seen too many Minneapolis Moline tractors.
It's a nice-looking Mini. I'm going to look up and
I wonder if
see
that
who
UDLX is still here today.
Yes, I saw the UDLX come in yesterday.
The UDLX is the Minneapolis Moline that was designed to work in the field and then go right into town. A cab tractor with one of the early buddy seats on it.
That you see going off the bottom of your screen there from Yankton, South Dakota, Minneapolis Moline U, a little bit higher built tractor for a little bit of clearance.
We have an Oliver coming up through here now, an Oliver 77, Super 77, right in the middle of your screen.
I believe that's another local Nebraska tractor, judging from the decal on there. Each year when the KTIC does their Great Nebraska Tractor Ride, all the participants get a tractor decal with their name on it, so you can identify some of the local Nebraska tractors with that Great Nebraska Tractor Ride magnet that they put on the side on the frame.
There's a lot of pride in participating in those tractor rides, isn't there?
A lot of pride, and you can relate. I know that's something that you enjoy. There's another big ride that takes place in Iowa. There's just something about getting back on a tractor and riding the afternoon away and reliving your time in the seat.
Yeah, there's something about road gear. You know, at the end of the day, when you pulled out of the field, you'd done a great day's work, and you could lift that disc or lift that plow up out of the soil and shift into road gear to head up to the kitchen where Mama had supper waiting. Oh, there's nothing like it.
That's exactly right. That's why I had to buy a 4010 Max, because some of my smaller two-cylinder tractors don't quite have the road gear that your red tractors had. But there's something
It
about
wouldn't get you to supper fast enough, you're saying.
No, that's right. The 4010 has that 8th gear, so it runs a little faster. That way you can cool off, get the wind in your face a little bit.
Tractors have stopped for a moment. We don't know what's happening, but they have stopped in front of the announcer's stand. If you've just tuned in, you're watching a record-breaking attempt with Antique Farm Tractors on RFD TV, Rural America's most important network, and World TV, television for a growing world. Max Armstrong here, along with Joe Gangwish, as we're bringing you this broadcast live from the Nebraska State Fairgrounds at Grand Island, Nebraska, Fauner Park. The track where these tractors, look at that mass of Antique Farm tractors and tractor lovers.
Now, there's something about the smell of burnt diesel or burnt gas, tractor fuel, what have you. These folks are certainly revved up. And like you mentioned, I don't know what the holdup is, but I think we all have to start again simultaneously if we get stopped, don't we?
Now they're starting to move once more. And the crowd is cheering.
Got the John Deere D in front of us. That's Merle Dorn from Franklin, Nebraska. That exhaust is straight out of the manifolds. You could really hear the pop of that poppin' Johnny right there in front of us.
Yeah, the folks right here in front of us are getting an earful.
So do you prefer, Max, to stay with the chrome exhaust? Do you have a muffler on yours? What do you prefer when you go on tractor rides?
I just like to have the old traditional muffler. I try to get as close to the way it was when it came out of the plant as I can. I do. I have kind of a utility box on the back there that's a little bit different. This is a good-looking old Case 430, isn't it? Right here in front of us at the moment.
Yeah, that's
With a
William
wide front
Baudette.
end.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. That's William Baudette of St. Laborie, Nebraska. So he's just up the road north of us here. He didn't have to come. He probably just drove the tractor down the highway to get here. He didn't have to trailer it.
It's a 1967 Case, by the way, in case you were wondering. Let him bring it on up in front of the screen here now.
There's a style John Deere A. We'll have to look up and see who that belongs to. I'll kind of work here quickly. That's Wendell Dorn from Franklin, Nebraska on that style day. RFD sure did a nice job as well of putting together everybody that registered their tractors in this nice booklet so we can keep track of who's going by.
By the way, the show book and a collector poster and I don't know, there's some other great collector items that'll be on sale after today's big event at rfdtv.com.
Be nice to have a DVD of this event. I know you and I will have that for our collection. There's a good shot of how muddy the track is, Max, as that D goes by us here right in front of the grandstand where we're sitting.
Is that what you call a little compaction going on out there?
I think we might have to deep rip the track here after we're done.
Actually, I understand this is a unique track. It has a tarp down several feet under the surface. Is that right? It's special drainage of some sort.
Oh, that I didn't know. I just knew the sand was draining quite well when I was walking on it earlier, but I didn't know it had a tarp that would aid in that draining. So
The rumor I'd heard anyway.
okay, well that's you can tell it's got a little bit of a slope as you kind of look on each side of the track.
Tell you what, look at some of these kids. They're going to remember this for a lifetime.
That's
this event
exactly
being
right.
here with dad or the brother or uncle and family members. Pictures being taken. There'll be posters of this hanging in kids' bedroom walls, on the bedroom walls. Huh?
That's going to be neat to have that poster of the whole
Some of us
track.
not so young.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's going to be neat to have a lot of those items available at RFD TV's website. And those will be on offer, of course, after the parade is over. And everything from T-shirts, as you mentioned, DVDs, the poster commemorating the event with a shot of all the tractors.
A little bit of
There.
Cornhusker pride.
There we are in
The top of the hood.
Cornhusker country, you know, and football is something pretty big to us here in
kidding.
Nebraska. So football season starts next week, so you'll find a lot of Husker fans on the track today.
I'm just surprised there's so many green tractors here in this land of Cornhusker red.
You know, that's one thing. You bleed Husker red, but you got to fit in a little green there as well. So
All colors of farm tractors, predominantly in the screen at the moment. John Deere green, a little bit of Oliver green. And on back in there, you'll see some Minneapolis Moline, Prairie Gold.
there's a nice Super 88 right in front of us, the Oliver. Those were the styled Olivers that really went with mostly a green motif before they switched to that meadow green and clover white.
They really combined some colorful combinations there with red and green and yellow on the old Oliver tractors.
That's another thing that when we do the paint jobs to restore these tractors, you probably visited with some people that are very particular about their paint jobs and are really, really particular on the decals, the paint, wanting to get everything right. So tractors are beautiful when you get them all restored up.
Even a little bit of election year commentary here coming down the track, spreading the message, but with the stars and stripes flying.
I wonder if
on
he's
that
going to
front.
be able to afford the gas to make it all the way around a couple of times here this afternoon.
By the way, we should point out to folks, this is a big day at the Nebraska State Fair. There's a senatorial debate, is that right? As well as Marty Stewart concert coming up later this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day here at the Nebraska State Fair. There is a debate between Senator Fisher and Bob Kerrey. They're both running for the Senate seat being vacated by Ben Nelson. That's coming up later on at 4 o'clock, I believe. And then, of course, the Marty Stewart is going to be here recording his show at the Nebraska State Fair. That'll be here on RFD TV coming up later on tonight. So just a big, big day. Great way to start out opening weekend at the Nebraska State Fair.
Look at that blade. He brought his blade with him.
He's probably, he probably just got done packing silage with that 4020 and loaded it up and brought it to the tractor parade here this afternoon. I've got a tractor in the parade as well here, Max.
You do have one.
Friend of mine, Glenn Landman, is driving that tractor, so I'm going to be looking for him as he comes around. The one I saw go by a little bit ago, I thought that was my tractor. It looked almost identical.
You were talking a little bit earlier about the paint and how particular tractor owners are about the matching paint. There's one gentleman here who has a Farmall. I think it's a wide front end Super M, and it's just not quite true Farmall red. And I didn't want to tease him about it. I thought he might take umbrage to it, but I did want to gently mention it yesterday. And he said there was a reason. He said that color matches the red Corvette that he had in 1957. So he was combining two loves, Joe.
I wonder if he still has that Corvette.
I wondered about that, too. Great looking Super H right there in the center of the screen for a shot there momentarily. I wanted to go check the serial number to see how close it was to mine.
It might be a sister to yours. Looks like Bob Hammett from Woodbine, Iowa. So we had another Iowa representative coming through the parade here. So I'll give you time. You can run out there and check the serial number.
I'd probably fall down in the mud trying to get out there so quickly.
Yeah, as you can tell, the track is muddy. So not too muddy, though. Looks like some dry tires going by. So maybe that sand is letting some of that moisture percolate down. That is a nice Nice 660 right there. A good Wheatland tractor, especially out here, you know, in the high plains, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado. You see a lot of those Wheatland farm-alls out here, Max. I think you need a Wheatland tractor for your collection.
We've snuck a few of those off to the eastern Corn Belt, I guarantee you. We've gotten a few of them over that way.
Well, you'd be amazed at how many of these tractors have come long distances to find a new home. You know, whether it be here in Nebraska or wherever you're at in the United States, folks will drive a long, long way to bring a tractor back. And as far away as you mentioned, New Jersey. I know a lot of these high crop tractors come out of Louisiana and Florida.
Rice country, right?
That's right.
Area.
We've had a few of the high crop tractors go by already. We've got, I would guess, maybe a good 12 high crop tractors in here today. So a lot of those have traveled a long distance to be up here at the parade.
Gentleman on the farm all in, farms in Pennsylvania.
Oh, did you talk to him yesterday?
Yes, I know him. He milked cows for many, many years there in the Keystone State.
It's a 1952 M.
Bill Pierce.
There's a nice 720 diesel. Looks like it does have the starting motor on it, so I'm kind of partial to the old 720s. We had a couple of those, and you got to love the old whine of the starting motor on those old 720s.
The throaty putt-putt of that two-cylinder, right?
That's exactly right, especially the diesel throaty sound that those older John Deere diesel the tractors had. It's really nothing compares to that.
Those of us in neighboring fields with you guys could hear that obviously echoing off the hills and the valleys as you were putt-putting across there.
Usually most of the time.
With other brands.
That's right, that's right. Of course, so a good M with a good throaty sound to it on that muffler. I assume, well, you probably enjoyed that sound too as a kid when you were getting a load behind your M, weren't you?
I still do, as a matter of fact. Yeah, there is nothing quite like it to have a load on that drawbar and you just pull back that throttle, let out the clutch. Or even if you're out on a tractor ride, sometimes we're coming up a hill, you know, I'll kind of ease the throttle down a little bit coming up to the edge of the hill and then just pull it back as we're going up that hill just to let it sound off.
Look at that Massey Harris pony here right in front of us, as you can see on the screen. That's a cute little tractor. That'd be a nice addition to anybody's collection.
Yeah, they're easy to haul, too. That's one thing.
That's right. You can almost load that up in the back of your pickup.
Back of a pickup. Yeah, you're right.
It looks to be, maybe a mid-40s John Deere H here right in front of us. Good old flywheel start. That's a good thing about those small H's. Doesn't take much to turn that flywheel over and get it started.
I know this seems a little strange, but for folks at home, they might want to hear these tractors. I'm going to ask the guys in the control room. I'm going to tell them that you and I are going to be quiet for about 20 to 30 seconds. We're just going to be silent here. If they want to bring up the mics a little bit so the folks can hear these tractors at home. Watch the faces of the drivers. I mean, they're taking this seriously, of course. You know, safety first. Everybody's watching around themselves and watching the drivers next to them, but they are enjoying this too, just as we are.
Oh man, everybody is having a great time out here this afternoon.
There's an attachment, a few accessories you don't usually see.
I walked by that tractor yesterday. He's got still some of the brass attached to that tractor. That's got to be a late 30s John Deere, probably, as you mentioned, still in its working clothes. He's got the emblems on the front. It says mine on there, so whoever mine is, that's who that tractor belongs to.
On steel. You know that we've got one tractor here that a gentleman put rubber lugs on steel. He had it specially, the wheels especially built up so he could bring it out on the road into an event like this.
Oh, he's got the date on it. 10/30/36 is when that tractor belonged to that family, so that's why it became theirs in October 30th of 1936.
Glad you figured that out. I thought maybe that was a special model number. You know,
it said that on the tag. That was easy to identify. Another 4430 coming here, one of the newer tractors.
Nice 140 just going out of the screen there. Those were used in a lot of vegetable crops.
I was going to mention that. That is another nice little small farm-all. There's a 4020 diesel with the front wheel assist, Max. There's just going to come in the shot here. You don't see a lot of those very
How do
often.
you like that LP 460? Still in its work clothes. Hey, I know that guy. Doug
Wayne,
is from over at West Point, Nebraska.
yeah, Wayne Vermeline here from Malmo, Nebraska, takes part in the Great Nebraska Tractor Ride every year. That's that little white C tractor you see on the screen. Is a replica of a demonstrator back in those days, and Wayne always liked those small white demonstrators and decided to go with the lighter paint job.
Quite a few folks in the crowd cheering, greeting friends here who are participating. A lot of special seats have been added to some of these tractors, as you can see. An extra seat put on there behind to allow for participation in parades and tractor rides.
Been thinking of adding one of those to my tractor myself. It's always kind of fun to have a rider with you on a tractor drive now and then.
There's some amazing stuff that goes on in farm shops in the wintertime as we're crafting special attachments and accessories. You know, that's one of the things that I find so interesting about the old tractors, too, is what farmers did to their tractors to make them even better for their task of farming. Look
good
at the
shot of the crowd there,
Great
yeah.
shot of the crowd.
Got a nice 6030 here, one of the bigger tractors that Deere made right around the early 1970s.
You don't see too many of those, do you, Joe?
Not a lot of them, and there are a few around though if you look for them. And this one right here, very nicely restored. There's a cement mixer for you, Max, on that Ford. Or is that a Ferguson tractor,
Ferguson,
maybe?
yeah. LP. A Fireball MLP.
And those were mostly in the South, weren't they? The LP tractors.
I think they were especially popular down there, from what I understand.
Now we see some of the tractors with the umbrellas, Max. It looks like as you look at the sky, maybe we'll have the sun peek through here in just a little bit.
You can see some of the folks at home. You can see our crowd here at Fodder Park at the Nebraska State Fairgrounds. That grandstand up above there is just packed.
There in the bottom left-hand part of your screen, you see that little yard hand tractor. That is belonging to Brian Walker from Hickman, Nebraska. We saw that tractor yesterday as we pulled in, and it's got to be one of the smaller ones here at the parade this year.
He was very proud of that, and there was a Roy Rogers connection because Roy promoted those. He has an ad on that little tractor that shows Roy Rogers on one.
Here we've got a nice Oliver row crop. Looks like it's probably a 70 here with the spoke wheels on the back. That's the older model of Oliver. And of course, Oliver now celebrating 77 years of 6-cylinder power.
This tractor from Arkansas, Alice Chalmers G. They made them in Gadsden, Alabama, as I recall. Used a lot of those in melon fields, vegetable crops, truck farms. They love those little G's. Hayden Spear brought that one all the way from Arkansas.
My uncles in Illinois had one of those. They were predominantly Oliver, so I'll give a shout out to the Brannons in Illinois. Had a little C, so I remember that little tractor growing up as well.
We had to bring out the toe strap.
As long as he's moving, I think he's okay.
If he's moving, I would hasten to point out that was, ladies and gentlemen, a John Deere being towed.
Oh, you had to mention that, didn't you, Max?
Farm old boy had to chime in on that.
There you go. Okay, I see. You set the precedent now. So.
I'll never do it again, Joe.
I think this is a BO here, if I remember right. I looked at this tractor on the track yesterday.
Look at this John Deere Industrial 420.
420 in industrial yellow. Those are nice little tractors. Most of them were used so bad they were sometimes unrestorable, but if you can find a good one in that condition, it's really a jewel of anybody's collection.
They've been used for highway departments, highway mowing, that sort of thing, Joe?
Yes, mostly highway mowing, mowing the road ditches. Used to see those up and down the highways a long time ago, and now are finding their way into people's farm tractor collections.
Boy, there's a great-looking Farmall right in the middle coming up here. Demonstrator, white. I don't know if we can get a shot of it or not, but he's got a cultivator on it. Look at that. Right in the center of the screen.
Oh, right in the center of the screen. Looks like he might have more of a Hiller attachment. Being here at
now that he's in front of us,
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah, being here in central Nebraska, of course, when we had the furrow irrigation, a lot of guys built their own hillers, and I bet that's what that is designed for, so you could hill some corn and do some furrow irrigation.
Yes, absolutely. It's Super C. I just saw the bar across the front when he was coming up in there, and I thought he had a cultivator, 2-row cultivator on it. There we got a real good shot of it. Look at that. That's a nice,
That's a nice
piece.
yes, good shot of it right there. They'd go through, and of course, ahead of the wheels, you'd kind of knock up a furrow, kind of like cultivating, but you'd have a little more of a furrow, and you could run the water right down the rows and irrigate your crops.
Minneapolis Moline U. And that's the Lone Tree Antique Tractor Club. Willis Dankert with that mini mow.
There, Willis Dankert is Minneapolis Moline. In the center of your screen, that nice Farmall 560, and then another tractor you could have brought from your collection is a 560. I know you're partial
Mine's a
to.
regular.
Yours was
a decent.
rescued, so that's a really good story on how you rescued your 560.
He's got a tractor radio on there, too. On some of these tractors you'll see, they are equipped with tractor radios. Of course, you can hear those across the field. I think that's part of the reason some of us are hard of hearing today.
At least on one side of their head is why
What's
they're
that
hard of
again?
hearing. I think I've got your bad ear on my side here.
Yeah, that's right. You got my bad ear. Between the noise of the tractor radio, and our selective hearing for our spouses now that we've matured a little bit.
And being a farm broadcaster doesn't help, does it, Max? Because you always seems like you have your headphones too loud at times.
Cranked him too loud, too long. Oh, look at this nice looking M670 Minneapolis Moline. It's the Cosgray tractor, I believe. Leroy? I think it's Leroy. Let me...
Is he from Colorado? Where is he?
No, he's from Indiana.
Oh, from Indiana. Okay. Said it was
Leroy
just.
and Judy Cosgray have that tractor in Buffalo, Indiana. That's in the northern part of the state, up around South Bend, Rochester, that area. Nice little cub.
There's Nelson Trambly. Nelson is from down south here near the Guide Rock, Nebraska area. Going to have a tractor drive tomorrow, in fact. So he's going to load up his tractor and go on a tractor drive tomorrow.
He's on his phone right now. He's talking about somebody about that tractor.
He's probably saying hi, Mom, as he drives by on RFD TV.
Gooset Mini Mo, that's what he was doing there, wasn't it? That's a good-looking LP, even though it doesn't have a finely restored paint job on it. Sometimes they just beg not to be restored. Sometimes you just leave them the way they are.
I know a lot of people opt for that option, and especially on those propane tractors. Kind of odd to see a wide front in that configuration, so that's a good tractor for his collection.
All right.
I'll tell you, Max, if I was to ever purchase a Farmall tractor, if we can get a shot of it here, a 1206 was the first turboed tractor that International came out with in the late 60s. That would be something that I'd love to add to my collection, even though I'm a green guy.
I hear you. I hear you. Little pause in the action here in front of the reviewer's stand at the moment.
We kind of have to do some weaving in and out and let some people come back around and get lined up again. That may be why we have the pause, but we talked at the top of the broadcast. It's really an orchestrated effort to get everyone moving in their right places and coordinate their speed all at one time.
If you just tuned in, you're watching a special broadcast here on RFD TV and Rural TV from the Nebraska State Fairgrounds at Grand Island. I'm Max Armstrong, co-host of This Week in Agribusiness on RFD TV. Joe Gangwish is alongside me here from the KRVN Tractor Blog. Joe's with All Points Cooperative here in West Central part of Nebraska. Take a look at this wagon coming up here right in front of us with this Ford.
Those wagons, you can find those on most of the farm sales around here. Everybody had a wagon back in the 40s and 50s. That guy took the time to actually restore that one right. That is a pretty wagon. I wonder if that's for sale.
I don't know. It probably depends on whether or not it was a family wagon, don't you?
Probably.
If that's the case, there's probably no checkbook big enough.
Did he go with stainless steel around that, do you think? Is that what that looks like?
I tell you what, that's a beauty, by all means.
Minneapolis Moline very well represented here today, Max. We've got a lot of minis making the rounds today.
Tractor's getting a little spread out in their ranks right now.
We got another little lull. There we go. We had a little stop in the action once again, but we're going once again.
Nice, Minneapolis Moline. Is that a U? I'm not sure. I should know my mini
Yep,
Mo's.
U for Universal. That's
It
right.
is U, okay.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Have you seen the UDLX yet? That's what I'm looking for.
Not yet. It was behind my tractor in the parade, so I think he's got a little ways to go here before we get to the UDLX. I think that was the only one we had here this year.
I believe so. Boy,
I'm going to
those
look
have
up
some
this
amazing-
Massey here
they
in
have
front
some
of us.
fantastic value, those UDLXs. There just aren't many of them. The people want them.
There's Richard Ferguson in this little Ford. Looks like we got another 8N. Look, I like the fenders there on the front of the tractor. He should have a Ferguson tractor if he's driving a Ford, you know, and with a name like Ferguson, he should, hopefully he has a Ferguson in his collection.
That's right. There's a family here I was meeting yesterday, and they had named their children after tractor companies.
Well, what were the names? What did they come up with?
Oliver, Case.
Any Johns for John Deere in there?
I didn't check the entire family tree for you, John.
There's another wide front Atlas Chalmers on those older tractors. Not a lot of wide fronts, so I bet that's probably a rarity from back where he found that machine. A lot of these, you know, you could get those aftermarket and put them on afterwards.
That F-14, Larry's F-14 from Kansas, is making a lot of noise going down through there. He and his wife won't be able to hear each other when this day's done.
A lot of those older Farmalls, you know, just the exhaust straight out the manifold, so you could really hear those up and down the valley.
We even have some garden tractors. Look, one with tracks.
It's an 8400 and a half Trax tractor. Somebody actually took the time to make the tracks to fit on that tractor, so I bet he gets a lot of use out of those in parades.
There's your cultivator.
Is that a Super C or a C that's attached to?
I believe that's a B, is it?
Oh, it might be a B. Yes, I think you're right. I don't know the red ones like you do, so I rely on you for the expertise there.
I really like it when you put a cultivator on there and you paint it the original color with that blue that Farmall had on the shovels, the shanks, the fenders.
Yeah, that really set a tractor off when you have all those different types of colors. Looks like we may have, what's that on the back of this John Deere A here in front of us?
Is that a hay fork?
Looks like it might be, yes. Another nicely restored Massey Harris 44.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here from the Nebraska State Fairgrounds on RFD TV and Rural TV, and we'll return to this historic event, the world's largest parade of classic tractors, right after this timeout.
Classic Tractor, sponsored by the Nebraska Tourism Commission. We'll be back after these messages. This program is being brought to you by the Nebraska Tourism Commission. Begin your adventure at visitnebraska.com.
With a road trip in Nebraska.
Kick it off with 1,139 classic tractors, setting a world record right here at Farner Park.
A little pause in the tractor movement at the moment.
Saw a gentleman that just got off his phone. He was probably calling back home wondering if he made it on TV. And yes, it did, in fact, make it on RFD TV.
Wave and say, hi, Mom.
I want to, as long as I'm here, Max, I want to say thank you to you and the RFD TV folks for bringing us programming that involves these classic machines, because like we talked about at the top of the broadcast, the love for classic tractors is farm country wide. Everybody loves their classic tractors, and that's probably one of the main reasons I tune into RFD TV. So thank you for the job that you folks do.
Well, I tell you what, it's a real love, a real passion for those of us involved in it, and to hear the feedback from folks, the loyal audience all across the United States. And that's not just folks on farms and ranches. There are a lot of people in the big cities learning something about agriculture, a lot more about how their food is produced for them. simply because they're watching RFD TV and Rural TV, and there's something pretty neat about that.
Exactly. Several folks removed from the farm still keep in touch with their heritage, their country, by being involved with the classic tractors and catching programs just like this one. Yeah, see if we can find who this case belongs to. Dale Sturgis from Holdridge, Nebraska. Oh, well, I think we got a mix-up in numbers.
Wrong number.
Oh, 131. Nope, I've got the number wrong. That's my fault on that one.
They have a little bit of a backup at the moment here. Now tractors are moving on the inside of the track.
Yeah, that case with the cab belongs to Bill and Shane Burris from Allen, Kansas, with that 970 Agri King.
Was that the model that they painted some of them black? Called
Yep.
the Black Knight?
That's right. They made a Black Knight version of that tractor, kind of a special edition. And also, you might remember with this body style, around 1976, they did that with the Spirit of 76 motif. Yeah, so that's if you could find one of those, that would be a real nice catch to have in your collection.
That's right. I'd forgotten about the Spirit of 76.
That's my favorite style of case too, Max, with that slanted front on the hood, and really sets the tractor off, and a good styling back in the late 70s by Case.
Kind of a signal of what was to come in terms of styling, wasn't it?
Exactly right. I think Case was on the forefront there of having a nice looking styled tractor, and probably set the tone for some of the styling we have today.
We talked about this earlier, but these folks who have come considerable distance bringing these tractors, it's just a thrill for them to participate in this. They've shared with us the passion that they have and how excited they are about being here.
You could feel the excitement yesterday as we visited with folks that were gearing up for this. Sometimes people couldn't contain themselves. They wanted to visit with you and visit with me about their particular tractor that they're bringing here today. Very excited about it.
Right in front of us here, I don't know if the camera can get it, John Zakovec has that Cockshed tractor with a sign on it that says they wanted to junk it, but look at it now.
That's a smaller utility Cockshed tractor, and you don't see many of those. I'm glad they saved that one from the scrap iron pile.
I bet you several of these were rescued from fence rows and from salvage yards. I talked to one gentleman yesterday who said, by the way, he cruises around to salvage yards. He's a regular patron in junkyards, boneyards, some people call them.
That's probably pretty smart, because some of these tractors will slip through the cracks, and if you can rescue one and restore it, you're probably even more proud of that one than some you've had in your collection a long time.
What's amazing now and then is to find one that's been squirreled away in a barn somewhere. A widow lady has had one out there in the garage, and it just hasn't been touched for decades.
It amazes you, as you drive around the country, how many tractors that are stored away in barns and sheds that you don't even know about till you get to asking around. And it makes your heart race just a little bit faster, knowing that you could probably stop by and maybe even see it and have a chance to buy it.
Or you'll find out that there was one in a shed, and you walked by that shed or you drove by that shed for years. I found out that there was a beautiful old tractor sitting just right by the Purdue University campus for decades, and I had walked by that as a student going to class. Didn't know it was there.
Did you happen to be able to acquire that tractor, or what happened to it?
Some other guys got it, but I would have skipped class if I'd known it was there. I didn't anyway.
You went for a joyride around campus there at Purdue, wouldn't you?
Gentleman waving from the high crop there. Super MTA, that is a high crop, isn't it? He sure is sitting awful high if it's not a high crop.
Carl Stratman
from a wide front end.
Yeah, St. Helena, Nebraska. Carl Stratman is who that gentleman is.
He's up there so high, I thought it was a high crop.
Oh, 959. That'd be Donald Stoltz from Ida, Michigan. So a good Michigan tractor represented here. There's another implement for you. We've got a planter attached to this H here right in front of us, Max.
Yeah, nice Farmo 450 right in front of it. By the way, one of the collector tractors at the Farm Progress Show this next week will be the Farmo 450. There's that H with the It's got a planter on there, isn't it? Yes.
Got a planter and dual wheels on the back.
And duals. Really?
Here's a nice
That's
shot.
an unusual piece.
Yeah, that is a very unusual piece with the duals on there. Nice looking 50-20. That belongs to Diane Conley and Conley Metzger. They're from Lone Rock, Iowa. Yeah, that's a nice John Deere 50-20.
Look at that box he had on the back there too. I don't know if we can catch that shot.
I think he takes that on a tractor drive occasionally. What do you guess?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I asked to take a look at a couple of toolboxes yesterday. I just wanted to see what they had in there. These guys are well equipped, I want you to know.
Everything you'd need on a tractor drive. A cooler with some water back there, maybe a snack or two as you reach mid-afternoon.
Rain gear.
That's right, you got your rain gear. Maybe even a change of clothes as you hit the hotel that night. What's your favorite part, Max, about tractor drives?
Oh, I'd say it's the socializing probably as much as anything. But the other part about it is you get to peer onto people's properties. I mean, you can look over there and see what they're doing. And people, you know, rural residents take such great pride. Our farmers mow the roadsides, and they have some beautiful gardens, and it's just wonderful to see as you're going on a tractor ride. Is that a Ford Industrial there?
That is a Ford Industrial. Gordon Bailey from Big Rapids, Michigan, a Ford 2110. Built in 1975. That's that smaller yellow painted Ford you saw go by here a little bit ago.
Look at this Orchard tractor coming up here. This John Deere Orchard tractor. These things are rare, but boy, they sure attract attention when you see them. There's a lot to restore there, man. I mean, if those fenders are in bad shape, you need to buy Bondo Bucket, 5-gallon bucket.
That's exactly right. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your body man when you go to restoring one of those tractors. That one came over from Holyoke, Colorado. Nice restoration on that. Oh, here you go with the rollover plow.
That is unusual. That's a Massey, right?
I believe so. With Massey pulling the rollover plow, 2 bottoms both ways. Nice restoration on both those pieces.
More and more at these shows, we are seeing implements, aren't we?
Yeah, we're seeing more and more implements show up because they're so hard to find these days, Max. We talked about a lot of these tractors going to the scrap pile. Well, a lot of the implements seem to go there first as farming got bigger and bigger, and the implements got larger and larger. A lot of these implements, if you can't find them in the weeds anymore, and so that's why a lot of guys are getting them out. If they do have them in their tree row, they can restore them and stick them on their classic tractor, and makes it that much better.
Quite a group from Holyoke here. Several folks have come from that part of Colorado.
A lot of classic tractor lovers from that northeastern, eastern part of the high plains of Colorado. Especially, that's where you get a lot of your Wheatland tractors from. There's Charlie Linder there in the background, one of my friends from Loomis, Nebraska, south of Holdridge, on his Super 88. He's very proud of that tractor. In fact, when he restored that tractor, the green almost matched identical the John Deere green on an A he'd restored. So there's your Nebraska Black Shirts representation on the loader here on this 656 going by. So another Husker tractor.
Yeah, those Husker decals are the only thing really red on there. The Farmall red has faded, hasn't it, Jim?
It's faded just a little bit. I think he maybe has plans to resurrect the color on that tractor here someday.
There's one that says Old Charlie on it. I saw it go by here. I wonder if he's named it. I bet spouses have named some of these tractors too. Have a few instances.
Maybe a few of those names. Yeah, a few of those names maybe we can't say on the air at times, but yeah. The spouses really get involved in this hobby too. That's what's great about classic tractors. You can involve the whole family.
This is the Haas tractor. The Haas family brought this John Deere. Nice looking little tractor.
Yeah, nice MC crawler.
Kind of bounces along there as he goes.
That's kind of a rough riding tractor.
It's your belly bounce. 1951 John Deere MC that was.
We've got a 2510 gas, it looks like, here right in front of you. Buddy seat on that tractor. Nice restoration on that John Deere 2510. It's kind of a rare tractor from the early 1960s. Of course, the 10 series was from 1960 to 1963. Although those 2510s lasted a little longer and after the 20 series had come out. So that might be more of a mid-60s tractor there.
Look at that go Buddy seat on the back of this MD with duals on it. He's got room to spread out and even brought Shep along.
Those MDs now, I believe those started on gas and you switched them over to diesel. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
There's a nice 660 Wheatland right there. That's also a diesel tractor. Looks like our track is drying out a little bit, Max, as we get some more traffic coming across this afternoon. By a gorgeous afternoon. You couldn't ask for, since we got the rain out of here, couldn't ask for a nicer afternoon to have a tractor parade.
Yeah, the crowd is really enjoying it. It's just an outstanding afternoon to be out here. A lot of family and friends have come, and others who don't know anyone at all here, just to come out and spend time, see this great old